Hello everyone, it's Deb again. Welcome back to my garage. So today I thought I would do another review video for a product that I will be taking with me on the road, and that is the ZeroWater pitcher. This is the 6-cup model, and for anybody new to my channel, I am going to become nomadic here in the near future in a Chevy Suburban. And several months before I bought my rig, I actually bought a countertop reverse osmosis system, which is that black thing right there. And it takes electric, which is not a big deal because I have my power stations, but the size of it, I realized after the fact, was going to be too big for my rig, because this is a 2.5 gallon water pack, and that is the equivalent of about 2 of these. And I had made space under my bed for that, for the height and everything. But when I went on my mini trip last year, I realized that I really, just realistically, I don't have room for that. I already have 6 of these that I'm carrying up close to the dash. I took out the passenger seat, and that's pretty much what's living there. And so I tried to find something smaller, but still something that would take out as much of the crud out of tap water as possible. And I did a lot of researching and watching videos and reading articles and everything, and this pitcher right here seemed to be the best choice. And so far I really do like it. And they call it ZeroWater for a reason, because when it filters through, there's pretty much nothing left. Especially, you know, if it's a new filter and everything. It even takes out fluoride, which is almost unheard of in a normal pitcher like that, because like a Brita or whatever is just a charcoal filter. The whole thing is just charcoal. So it's pretty limited in what it can take out. But this thing has a 5-stage filter, and that's what it looks like on the inside. And it really does wonders. Like the water tastes so crisp and clean, and I love it. But there are a couple things that I don't like about it, so I'm going to give you a tip or two here at the end and show you how I got around that. The first thing is that people complained about how the lifespan of the filter, and that is a concern, but realistically it's not that big of a deal, because when you buy this pitcher, it comes with 1 filter, and then of course you can buy refills for it, and you can get 1, 3, 4, there's a 6-pack, an 8-pack, and a 12-pack. Obviously, if you buy 12 filters at a time, each filter is going to cost less. So if you buy 12 filters at a time, each filter is about $11, and this 4-pack came up to be about $14 each. But that's really not that bad. When you consider like a bottle of wine or something, that's about $14 for a good bottle. And for me, for one person, I can get 1 filter to last a month and a half. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. You know, considering the cost of the reverse osmosis filters and everything. And this, I feel like this actually takes out even more contaminants than that thing over there. I will keep that. That was a $400 unit, and so I'll probably put that in my storage unit for if I get, you know, a home base or maybe a bigger rig or something. But for right now, I needed something smaller and still efficient. And so I got this thing, and it fits much better in my rig. It's got a pretty narrow profile and everything, so I'll be able to find a place for that. So the biggest complaint, other than the filter life, is that when this is 6 cups, but this reservoir here where you fill it, it's only about 2 cups. And so you fill this thing and you let it filter through, and then you fill it again, and before this is even done, it stops. And that's because there's hardly any space down here between the bottom of the filter and the bottom of the pitcher. And so for whatever reason, I don't know if it's, there's not enough air or, that's already submerged in water. But once you put that second thing in, it doesn't filter all the way through. And so you've still got water sitting in here. And then you're supposed to, pour the filtered water out. But there's still water in here. And because this is not like watertight or anything, when you start pouring, the water up here starts coming out at the same time as the water down here. And obviously that's not a good thing, because the whole point is to filter all the water. And that was a complaint that I read on some of the reviews. And, because I don't actually like to store water in plastic, I started filtering it into here. This is a 33 ounce water carafe. It's glass. And this is what I was, pouring my glasses of water from. And so that's just what I store my water in, and I pour it from. And so I started taking this whole contraption here and just taking it out of the thing and putting it right in there. And then I poured the water in there, and it took no time. And I guess it's because it's up out of the water, because this is, there's no more air being allowed in there than it would be in here. So I think it's just because this is lifted up out of the water that it works so much better. And so that really did help a lot. And so I didn't have to wait around and have to worry about water up in here coming out, So that worked really well. But for me, for one person, between the water that I drink and the coffee that I make, 33 ounces was not big enough. And that's the equivalent of a quart jar. And I have a lot of quart jars. I have tons of canning jars here because I did preserving for a long time. And, I just knew that wasn't going to be enough. Thankfully, I had these 64 ounce ball jars on hand. There was like 6 in a pack, so I just took one of these. This is a lid made specifically for the mason jars. It's got a little gasket in there, and it works very well. You can store anything in your jar and use this and pour it out, but I found that this works very well for my duties, because once you get it on there and you get it on tight, when you go to pour it, there is no dribbling, there's no leaking. It's just really nice. I really like these things. And then this, I found this amount of water will last me at least a day. And so I can make a few cups of coffee with it, and I can drink as much water as I want from it. So now this is what I filter it into. And I don't have the problem of it. Again, I don't have the problem of the water sitting in here or anything. And so I just put that right in there. It fits a little bit better in this jar. It goes all the way down to that first rim right there. And then I just take my water, because I have, like I said, I have 6 of these. And so I just take it and hover it right over the thing. I've just got this on a 5-gallon bucket with a gamma lid. I've got a plate on there because it is a little bit unstable, and then just a paper towel to cushion the plate. And then I can just fill it from here, and it'll take just a few minutes. It does not take very long at all to go through. And so I can actually get this thing filled up in probably about 10 minutes, maybe 15 if I'm not really paying attention to it. But I don't know if you can see that. That's the rate it goes through, and it just goes so much quicker when you've got that filter up out of the water. And I just love it. This is the perfect solution. You could do even a bigger jar than this if you wanted, but this will fit okay in the drawer I have inside my Suburban. And then as far as this pitcher goes, I've got 6 of these under my bed, and I can just sit that right in there, and then just once a day I can take it all out and do this and refill that jar, and then have that on the inside of my rig where I don't have to even get outside of my rig to get to my clean filtered water. And I will always keep this because that's a good resting place for this whole unit. So when I'm not filtering water, I just stick that right back in here, and I just put the lid on it, and you know, I just keep it like that. And the one thing that I probably should tell you, another tip, is that pretty much every single time you put one of these new filters in, it's going to leak. And I don't know why, but it's going to leak. And it's not a lot of a leak, but it's enough to drive you crazy. And if you were to do it right here, which I did the first time, you'll make a mistake, because right around here, it just has these, it's not a flood or anything, but there's enough dropping out of here that it will get whatever you have down here wet. And so the first thing I do when I put a new filter in, you screw it in from the bottom, so it goes up into this thing, and so that's how you screw it in. And no matter how tight I get it, it doesn't matter, it still leaks. And so that's another reason why I keep this thing, is because the first pass I put through it, I set this thing right in here like it's intended to be used, and I filter the water through it, and then I will check it for leaks. And like 9 out of 10 times it's leaking. So, you know, I unscrew it and I screw it back in, and I try to get it as tight as I can, and I do kind of squeeze on the filter a little bit, and that seems to help a little bit. And so whatever water, you know, if it's leaking or not, I just let it go through. I pour it back into here, and I try again, and I just watch it very carefully. And if it's leaking, I'll pour the water back in here, and I'll adjust it another time. But it usually only takes 2 or 3 times, at the most 3 times, to make it stop leaking from around here. So I do highly suggest that the first time you put a new filter in, do it in here and watch for leaks and adjust it as you need it. And then after that, it's pretty solid. After, you know, after I've made it stop leaking, I've never had a problem with it. And I can just sit it here, and there's no worries of it leaking down the side or anything like that. It does a really good job. And you can see it's almost done. And I don't know how long that took, but that was not very long. And so it takes me about 2.5, 3 of these reservoirs. It holds about 2 cups. So it takes me 2 or 3 times of filling this to get that full. And it does not take very long at all. I'm really happy about it, and I'm glad I found that hack. They do send this TDS meter, and when you get a new filter, it should read 0. And they tell you when it starts reading 006, that's when you should replace it. And it, you know, I've had water coming out of my reverse osmosis that it reads, you know, 050, and you can't get it any better than that. So it's kind of weird that once this gets to 006, you have to replace it. But I can tell you from experience that you really do need to replace it when it reads that high. Because I think the very first filter, the very first time I used it, I wasn't measuring it all the time. And I went like 2 months, maybe 2.5 months. And then I just slowly started, you know, tasting this and smelling this very weird smell. And it was almost fishy. It was actually pretty gross. And so I thought, well, maybe that filter needs changed. So I got this out and I measured the water, and it was up to like 030 or something like that. And so it was well beyond the recommended number for them to change it. So when they say change the filter at 006, they mean it. They're not kidding. Because if you go that much higher than that, it's gross, and I just can't stand it. So really just pay attention to the total dissolved solids. That's what TDS stands for. And when it gets to 006, 007, change that filter out just right away. And it's not that bad, you know. Those filters are so expensive for that, and they don't even take out as much as this. So I'm really happy with this unit, and I will just keep that reverse osmosis on standby. But, you know, these filters and everything, I have a cargo box on top of my rig that I can keep these in, so they'll be out of the way and everything. And, you know, once every month and a half, and I will just go up into my cargo box and get a new filter and change that out. It's really not that big of a deal. So I just wanted to show you my new water system for anybody who might be interested, and I hope that's helpful. I'll talk to you later. Bye.